is that you just got to figure out kind of what your actual skills are and then figure out what the business model is. The key is getting on that BI side, getting to a place where you own some systems that run the business.
Welcome to the good life.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast, where we talk everything health and wealth. I'm one of your hosts, C. Muzan. I got Coach Kabi here in the building. Say what up, Coach.
What up, though? Yeah.
Tail end cut off a bit, but we got most
Ah,
of it. We got most of it.
guys, I need a new intro. I can't do this anymore. Can't do
or,
this anymore.
or maybe you just
What
got to
is
get a
the what
worse
is
mic. You
what
got to
is
get a
the
worse
what
mic.
is No, we can't do that. This the one that Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on. We can't do
Touched it.
that. We can't downgrade like that. But what I will say though is, what is the feeling or the thought process on switching intros? Is it frowned upon? Is it considered perhaps a little bit of a faux pas? What is it? How do you
That's a
feel
good.
about that?
That's a good question. Listen, I think with podcasts and with content in general, it evolves over time. It would be great to have an intro that sticks, that's sticky, as Drake would say, right? But
Did Drake say that? Okay.
he might have at some point in his career. He had a song called "Sticky," and it was a
You know
sticky
what?
song.
You're actually right. I'm gonna let that one go.
Yeah, let it go. There we go. So it would be nice to have
What's
something
up,
sticky.
Larry?
It'd be nice to have something sticky, but I'm not opposed to switching it up. Sometimes we need to be stylish. We need to be fresh. We need to be moving.
So what you're
So
saying is you're a Fairweather fan.
that's not what I'm saying at all.
You're
Actually,
saying you just roll to whatever side is winning at the
what I'm
time, and you
actually
have no
saying,
sense of loyalty
what
whatsoever. Is that
what
what you're
I'm
saying, sir?
what I'm actually saying is there's a gray area in life. Not
Wow.
everything is black and or white.
So what are some gray areas in your life, brother?
We just talked about it, didn't we? Didn't
What
we
is
just didn't we just mention didn't we just mention a gray area, which would be the intro? Hmm? Not too hard on this side, not too soft on that side. Straight down the
Goldilocks,
middle.
are you?
Straight down the middle.
Confucius,
What?
the
We're
middle
straight
way.
the middle way. We're straight down the middle with this one. That's where the gray area lies.
The
And
alley
there's
cats.
and there's some gray area.
Hey man, I could go for days.
I bet you could. I bet you could. Is that I guess a good segue into saying that you had a great week? Huh? You had a good week? If you could go for days doing this, how was the
It
week?
was it was good. It was good. The good Lord stayed blessing. Weather here in LA is still very good. You'd be shocked to know. Um, Other than that, man, just staying busy. As you know, putting a good amount of work out there, trying to get the people what they need, what they want on the house side of things and beyond. So yeah, man, that's what we're doing.
Love it.
What about you?
Love it. Life is good. Wife's getting on my nerves a bit. No. Oh, joking. Love you,
Oh
babe.
my
Love you, babe.
goodness. She don't listen to the show,
She
man.
she
She
don't
don't
really
listen to
listen
the
to the show. Not at all,
Yeah,
right? It's
she
just
don't
us.
listen to the show.
It's just us. Someone's gonna send her that clip
She's just like,
though.
what are y'all doing over there? Y'all just acting foolish over there for like
Exactly.
30 minutes
What is
every week.
this? What is this pod? What is this
Are you
podcast that
are
you
you
guys have?
she got no respect for the show. Hey man, that's fair. That's fair enough. Like these dudes, man, they gonna get fired any minute. Well, there you go. They got canceled.
Good thing is we're unhireable, right? Unhireable, unemployable. We're unemployable. We're not going to get fired, but the podcast is,
Unemployable. You speak for yourself, sir. I can be employed. The number just
maybe.
got to be right.
Yeah, I know. We already talked about that. You got to
Yeah,
have the right number and you're good to go. Not
pretty
I, said the
much.
cat. Not I, said the cat. We are unemployable on this side. We're paving our own way, carving our own path. First one through the door, making things happen. That's right. We're getting shot first, but it's okay. We're gonna pave. We're gonna
But
pave the way.
are you sure the word you want is unemployable? Maybe you're not available. Maybe you've already but unemployable means you're not fit to work.
I'm not fit to work for another human. for another human being.
Well, all right. Touche, sir. Touche.
Right. That's right.
Hey, hey, the man's
But
book is mine.
that's what we're doing over here on The Good Life. And appreciate everybody that continues to check in. Again, we're here on the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast. Just know if you want more, you can catch us over on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those other places, and your favorite streaming platform like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. By the way, if you join the Facebook group Health and Wealth for Busy Professionals, we go live every week. You get the episode, but you also get a chance to chat with us one-on-one. We do some Q&A and some workshops in there and give some insider tips. So remember, it's not just a group in there, it's a community for self-improvement. So join and live the good life. Quick word from our sponsor.
That's right. Ready to level up your style? The Good Life Visual Audio Podcast store just dropped its first piece of merch. With our exclusive Follow the Money t-shirt, it's not just clothing, it's a statement of your commitment to mastering your health and wealth. So be part of the movement and get yours today. Just visit the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast store using the link in our description. And remember to always follow the money.
Follow
Come on, man.
the money.
Come on. A lot going on, man, in terms of follow the money, bro. A lot going on. Economy looking real shaky. But still these numbers keep coming out. Now we're not gonna sit on this too long here, but it's just really interesting the gap between what is being reported and kind of what the, let's call it, more realistic numbers in terms of rates, in terms of GDP, in terms of unemployment, in terms of, those, I'll call them key economic metrics. But I'm no economist. All right. So I just think it's really interesting, man. I don't know if you've been, I do know. I know you've been paying attention. It's your field house. But what's your take on where the economy is right now? Just a quick, brief take here, more so out of curiosity, where the economy is right now and where we're, not necessarily a prediction, but just looking at if the trend doesn't change, right? What do we see ahead in terms of the winter of would you call it the winter of 2024? Because January is technically winter.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
The North rises, winter returns.
There is a lot happening. There's a lot happening. And without diving into the numbers, because in all honesty, I actually try to stay away from these made up numbers in the economy that we get from the government and those places. But we all know, because we feel it, that we're in a bit of trouble, right? We're in a bit of turmoil in our economy right now. Prediction wise, again, who knows, because the Fed controls so much of, right, what happens. They print money, they make up rules, things change. Like, who knows? All I know is we're not in the greatest spot as an economy right now, and the things that people personally need to pay attention to is their own personal household. Will the numbers flip around? Like, will this deficit slow down? Will we stop printing money and lending money and all those things? I highly doubt these things happen. What's the repercussion of that side? I mean, who knows? Again, who knows, right? Like, who knows how bad this goes or how bad they let it get? At the end of the day, all we can do is focus on our own individual lives. Do our families have what we need? Do we have our financial cushions? Is our money safe relatively? Is it in a spot where we can access it? Are we putting it in good places that are going to either give us a return or give us some more security, or, right, things that we need? I think as we look at this like big macro picture, I think it's far, far beyond us really being able to help the situation or think of ways to help it. I think it just has to play out how it's going to play out. Nobody wants to see the proverbial plane crash, but I think if everyone can start building their own life rafts and getting their parachutes ready, I think some people will be saved, but it's not looking great.
So it sounds like you're talking about fiefdom here, like middle earth type of Middle Ages type of mentality.
Yeah.
It's the family crest or nothing, right? Make sure you harbor up the family crest. Get your own land. Get your own crops going. Get your own gold, your own silver. Get your own swordsmen, right?
None of these things are bad ideas at all. I don't know that again, it's because again, it's all about time, timing and how long you think this stuff occurs. But
What's up, Dana?
I think all those things are important. All those things that you name, it might not be let's get that done tomorrow or next year, but over the next 15 to 20-year period, absolutely. All those things you mentioned are going to be important. Like we're going to need a better way to know where our food comes from. We're going to need to be able to have different skill sets of growing certain crops and being exposed to certain elements, right? Like learning how to do some things again. Yes,
Yeah,
fiat
yeah.
currency, right? Like over the next 2 decades, right? Like guys, if we're talking to people in our age, then we're going to be actively operating in 2 decades. Like,
Right, right, right,
you know
right,
what I mean? So like it's actually a real thing that I think
right.
we just got to pay attention to.
And
Uh,
when people think about that, especially if you spend your whole life growing up in a city or a town of some sorts, you've never really been close to your food,
mhm.
right? You may have. How many people out here walking around do you think have never ever seen a real cow?
More than 50% of the population of America.
Right. Okay. So when we talk about things like this, it sounds pretty crazy. It sounds
Mhm,
like a real, like, oh wow, what are y'all talking about here? And,
mhm.
and I partially joke in terms of a return to fiefdom because that's the mentality of somebody who hears this and has never been around a chicken, has never seen a chicken get up and there's eggs right there. Like that would be like, oh wow, that's amazing type of feeling. So it's not too, it wasn't too long ago. I believe 1970s, maybe give me 60s, 50s for sure, where most families had some form of a garden,
Mhm.
right? Most families, had a cow. Most families had some chickens, lay some eggs, right? Most families, bartered. So if Mr. Finnegan, grows watermelon and Dr. Tarson and the Tarson family also perhaps have some chickens. When you need eggs, you go to Dr. Tarson, and when you need some watermelons, you go to Mr. Finnegan and his family. And of course, not to make them both male, and but that is the situation. That used to be more of the case. It used to be not too long ago, man, where fresh milk, and I don't know if it was whole raw milk or not, but fresh milk was delivered to the doorstep.
Mhm.
So, when I got to the to US and it was milk in the fridge all the time, and now we're having issues with lactose intolerance. I think what we missed is what happened from the transition of daily delivery of milk, right, to fresh milk to now storing it in your fridge. And how does that impact our health, right? And not just that, how does that also impact the economy?
Right.
And I think we're starting to continue to see a lot of things like this. Um,
A-
yeah,
As you go down this path, like with we've done a couple shows on the modern food environment, right, and kind of where we are along this path. We've gotten a chance to spend a little bit of time. I think I mentioned this before, right? Over the past couple weeks, spent a little bit of time with a guy that's super wealthy, right, in the billionaire side of things, and just to hear what he thinks about. He's thinking about the same stuff, building, he has a huge ranch, right, building self-sustaining things, right, making sure he has animals and chickens and making sure there's bunkers and artillery ammo, right, like all these things, like because foreseeing or saying like, hey, this is what's up and coming, like in our life, we don't know with all this uncertainty, so all we can do is make sure our families are good. And what are we going to need? Shelter, protection, food, water, right? Like air, like we're gonna need space. He I think he
air
did
is a good one.
Yeah, air's a good one, right? He gave us this of course we need it. He gave us this statistic that he was like, I think for New York City, for New York, they have like 9 days of food supply. Like if the food got cut off, the food supply got cut off because all of it comes in over the bridge. If for some reason, that bridge connection into New York doesn't actually right exist, there's war, there's whatever happens, New York has 9 days of food supply, right? Nine days
Until what?
until pandemonium. What happens when people are hungry? We saw what happened when people need toilet
Let's
paper,
go.
right? But like, what happens when people are hungry, right? What happens if we get to that place? That's why, again, it's important to just even think about these types of things, like just to think about it. Hey, what happens if food supply gets cut off? Do you know how to get to food? Do you know if people start ransacking every grocery store? Like, would you know what to go do?
Wow. Now we're talking crazy. Now we're talking crazy.
Are we
Oh,
though?
wait, it's already happened.
We've already
No, for
seen it.
sure.
What's up,
I
Dana?
unlike you, I'm unsure that we're going to ever move in that direction as a collective. I
Mm.
think you might have some subset of the population that will look and say, "Oh my gosh, that's what I'm going to do with either myself, my family, or myself, my family, and some loved ones." Perhaps we're some of those people, but I don't think that as a collective, we're going to be moving in that direction because it's against the grain and also it's against kind of the general, I would say plan in a conspiratorial sense, but plan.
I understand, but when right plans fail, what part of the population do you think will wake up? You still think
Wow. Whoa,
you
what
still
you're now okay, okay, hold up, pause. I didn't know we were gonna go here. Because now you're asking the big hardened questions, big hitting questions. What happens if there's a major global catastrophe of epic proportion that we've never seen in, let's say, centuries, and it becomes uber clear that the government and other governmental agencies perhaps were uh, not informing us or actively deceiving us about what the conditions were, and we
Mhm.
find this out later, what would people do? Ah, great question, sir. Um, I'll say to you, they would do nothing. They would do nothing because this has already happened. Welcome to post 2020, my friend. Okay, so yeah, a lot of there could be major global catastrophes and signs, and people will consent to them, and they will
I don't
take the
know.
easy route.
I don't know. Fool me
What do you mean you
once.
don't know? It's already happened.
No, fool me once, right? Like again, the more that we're exposed to things, I believe in people. I believe that people innately, and this is something that I know we've talked about here, because again, it being the good life and us talking about how we really, right, design this ideal life for ourselves. I feel like people innately kind of know what is good for them or where they want to be. They might not be clear on like the specifics or how to get there, but in general, people have a
Where
sense.
is your evidence?
I'm I
Where's your evidence?
I don't think this research has been done. If it does, if it has somebody that's watching, drop some drop some research notes or
You
some
won't
links
get any.
somewhere. But I believe again, most people have a desire to live a better life, to be better, to feel better,
Oh,
to
so now we went
like
from most people know to
li-
most people have a desire.
so not most people know. I didn't say most people know how. I just said most people like know that they want to be better. Like they have a desire inside that they want to feel better, do better, contribute more, like the six basic human needs, right? Like feeling connection. Like people know that there's stuff missing and they want more. Like that desire I believe is there. So because of that, I just think if there is some second or third or fourth global type of catastrophe, something, people will start to wake up a bit more rapidly and understand like, this doesn't feel right. And I see this group of people. This information has been presented to me. I see it a bunch more now. Now I'm getting pulled more to that side. I believe that more people over time would wake up, would start to see like, oh, you know what? I probably should figure out where this food comes from. I've seen enough of these videos, or enough of the people around me have whatever, not felt great, gotten sick because of the food. They've changed the what they've consumed. Maybe I'll do that. And I think the more that we have these life events layer on, the more people will wake up and actually start moving in that direction. So I'm hopeful for the people. Hopeful.
That is great.
Hopeful.
Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Barack Obama.
You're welcome. Yes.
You
for
presented
president.
hope to the people and you lied.
way to be a hope stealer. Way to be a dream stealer for those of us that have hope,
dreams.
Sir.
That's a better word. Dreams. You're dreaming this to be the case. There is no evidence for anything you just described. It's pure fantasy. It's halluwa, as they'll say. All right, you're hallucinating. That's not going to happen, because there's tons of evidence to show us that that's just not how people behave. If you just keep turning up the degree just a little bit, just like one, just turn the temperature up, like pop, pop, just a little bit at a time, right? And then you hit them with a 10-degree rise, bah, they're gonna be like, whoa, what was that? And then you go back to the 2, and then you go back to 2 degrees. Top, top, top. And then you hit them with a 20 degrees, and they go, whoa, what was that? And then you go back and you hit them with 3 degrees. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And people just fall asleep. They get rocked to sleep to the waves, to the hammock swaying back and forth. Keep them real busy with work, then hit them with a catastrophe, bam, then say, but you still got to go to work. Right? Nah, man, they're not waking up. They rocking a baby. Shout out Russell Westbrook.
You don't think that enough of those babies are getting older and are not going to be able to see it for
those
what it is?
Babies damn near been rocked to death. They got gray hair.
There's always going to be the
rocker.
masses. There's always going to be the masses. But again, we're talking to people that want to get to the good life. They want to design their ideal life. I feel like more of those people will come to this side. There will be more of those people than there were. I don't know percentages. I don't know, right? Probably not the masses. I can vouch to say not the masses.
All right.
But more people than not, right?
Okay, so you're right. 3 is greater than 1. You're right.
3 is greater than 1.
You're right. So more people will come over.
That's right. That's right. And that's where the opportunity lies. And that's who we're here to serve, ladies and gentlemen. It's why we do the show. The thesis, this is episode 142. We've been going strong, watching this guy dance and do weird things like he's doing currently in the screen, but also being able to give solid conversations around the topics of health and wealth, the two main foundational things that we both believe. Hey, there we go.
Freedom.
There we go.
The 2 pillars of foundation. The 2 pillars of a nation. The 2 pillars that builds a strong, indestructible base upon which a monument can be erected. Is health and wealth. And, as long as we fall asleep here and we let our health deteriorate as individuals, if we let our wealth be stolen by nations, if we let our health be deteriorated as a family, our unity as a family, and then our togetherness as a community, as a state, as a country, as a continent, as a global force, what will happen is pretty soon we'll turn around and what we fought for, what our great-grandfathers fought for, great-grandmother stood for, has been taken away from us. Our health and our wealth, both being slowly eroded as we speak. All right, both being slowly eroded. We are looking at what happened with the quote unquote is continuing to happen with the dollar, which is not the first, by the way. This is not the first time we've seen a currency be eroded along with a nation. Come on, guys. Were we paying attention in history class? Well, luckily for you, that's one of my things.
You were the only one paying attention in history class, sir. And it seems like you took in every bit of information.
Loved it.
In
Loved
history.
Loved it, man. We've watched many a great nations rise and fall, not by their political philosophy necessarily, not by, usually with a bang like in a war of some sorts, but usually it's with the currency. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand, myself included, until I started taking a deeper look. And, it's one of those things that you may want to duck, go.
Yes, you may want to duck, go it. And we're a couple decades away. It's yes, and. It's yes, and. Right?
Because I don't know anybody that has been able to pinpoint a correct timeline. I myself will not dare try to put a timeline out. All I can say is Jesus will return.
Thank you for that absolute statement, sir. We appreciate that. Yes, but again, in fairness, these are changes. The dollar is eroding. The U.S. is declining as the world superpower. We see these things happening. Yes. And these things don't happen fast. What makes them happen fast? There is a catalyst.
So are you saying, go ahead, brother, go ahead. What's the catalyst?
There's a catalyst. The catalyst is something we all don't really want to see, but the catalyst is war.
Stop it now.
Right? That's the catalyst that causes things to shift overnight, because there is a winner and a loser in a 1-year battle, in an 18-month battle, in a 24-month battle. There is a winner and loser. And in those 2 years, in those 3 years, things could shift completely.
Yeah.
Outside of that,
it's very interesting to your point earlier, that these things are usually coupled, right? We see not just the erosion of the currency, but also the erosion of culture. Now, I don't want to sound like our grandparents here, but I mean, let's be real. Like, our parents' age was a little less risque than our age, and our age is a whole lot less risque than Gen Z. So what we see, some would say an erosion of culture, if you will, right? A descend into Gotham, right? And perhaps a formation of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we all know that when you start saying names like Gotham and Sodom and Gomorrah, what happens is Batman will rise again.
Oh my gosh. This guy's punchlines on tonight's show. What is this? The punchlines. We just need is this a compilation show of bad punchlines? Is that's my gosh.
Oh man. Hey, those that understand know.
No, they don't know.
And those that don't know, maybe they shouldn't know.
They don't understand it either. But it's okay. All seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, podcast, we're excited to talk about both those two topics of health and wealth, because they go hand in hand. The way that Kabi and I both talk about it, the way that we talk about foundational things, the way that we want you to understand that there are just some small foundational things that you really have to do. All of the noise, all of the complicated nature of these two topics in our society typically are coming from follow the money, right? It's coming from bigger places. It's coming from big companies that are running things. The information that's getting disseminated is not in our best interest most of the time, if not any of the time, right? It's not in our best interest, but we have to see that, and we have to see it clearly, because again, we know many of you want to get to that next level in life. You want to optimize your health. You want to have longevity. You want to feel great. You want to be able to move your body and all of those things. And there's so much that distracts you from it because we don't know what to focus on, right? We don't know what to focus on. Do you focus on macros? Do you focus on calorie count? Do you just look at the treadmill every day? Do you go to the holistic shaman? Like what do you do in order to like really master your health and feel great? And the same thing on the financial side. What do you do when you have financial questions? Who gives you your financial guidance? If you are not blessed to be in a family or in a peer group where people know money and are talking about money or have financial professionals around them, how does one navigate? How does the average family that has a corporate athlete or two corporate athletes, mom and dad hustling, making things happen, how do they have time for their finances and to make sure that their foundations are set and to make sure that their kids go to college and they have retirement and they're not paying too much in taxes? Who's helping with those areas? These two foundations of freedom, as my partner calls it, right? These pillars of freedom, mastering our health and mastering our wealth. These two areas are crucial for us to take our lives to the next level. So that's why we do the podcast, so we can talk about these things. Sometimes we're just talking about the distractions, the things that are out there that might be taking our focus away from what the important things are in those two areas. Sometimes we're giving you the tips, the tools, the things that you need to grow in a certain area, what to pay attention to, what to focus on. Those of you who have been rocking with us for a bunch of episodes, right? You know, we've gone into our theses. We coach clients individually. We work with people individually. We work with groups. So we're having a lot of these conversations about what people are feeling, what people are dealing with in their health and their finances. So we can give guidance. We can answer questions. That's what the group is for. That's what the Facebook group is for, is to be able to dive in there and have conversations with us so we can answer your questions, get one-on-one, get your specific money or health question answered. So you're not just Googling or watching the next guy on YouTube. I know you're probably watching this on YouTube, but either way, right?
I was gonna say, no, we want to build a YouTube.
But either way, that's what we're here to do. It's always good for
Yeah.
us to remind you the thesis and why this is important. And we want to continue to be a resource. We've learned some things. We've helped some people down this path in respectively their health and their finances, and you deserve the same thing. So that's what the podcast is for. We always want to recap. You hear us joking and having a good time because, one, we love this stuff. We love being able to talk about the things that are most important. If you master these two things, guys, I'm telling you, just if you can master,
right.
you're going to be fine. Life is going to be good. You're going to have so much forward progress in your life, and good things come from that. That's my rant. I'm done.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. For a change,
For a change, thank you for
yeah,
that, man.
for a
Thank you
change.
for a change every once in a while. Um, anything top of mind for you from a business perspective? Again, as we might talk about health and wealth a ton because those are two areas of our expertise and a focus, but we're also in the area of entrepreneurship, both equally growing businesses and down this path. So we know we've been having the conversation more about business, pivoting a bit more, answering questions around business. So
Yeah. So one of the things in business front, and obviously that, in my opinion, fits in the health front and also on the wealth front, obviously. But it's moving from the left side of the cash flow quadrant of E and S to the right side of the cash flow quadrant of business owner, big business owner, and investor. And I think when you look around these days, and we're typically talking, let's say, about the attorney that's watching this, the doctor that's watching this, the engineer that's watching this, the software developer that's watching this, the person that's worked up in the ranks or wherever they are and are now making a very good income, but maybe they don't have the time to as much time or the time to necessarily dedicate to moving over to the right side of the quadrant, and as a result they kind of get trapped on the left side,
Mhm.
right? So this conundrum of I'm making a good income, so I can't necessarily just up and leave my job, but I feel like I'm low on time and perhaps energy to go to the right quadrant where I can then start bringing in income that purchases income producing assets that then pay for my expenses and pay uh, for my other investments as well. So I think when we look at current day, one of the ways to do this that I think is very underrated is, the digital real estate space. What I mean by that really is just creating assets digitally that generate income, right? And for a lot of people, I think myself included early on, see, when I got started, I wasn't super clear on the difference between being an influencer and being one that generates money online. Those are not the same thing.
Mhm.
Okay. So one is more geared towards, let's say, branding, right? That'd be more the influencer style, while the other is geared more towards building an actual business where you exchange a product or service for money. Those things can go together, but they don't necessarily go together. So I think when a lot of people think, online business, they think influencer. Um, they might have attention, but they don't have a vehicle that generates income,
Sure.
right? So the trick then is, then how do you turn that attention that you garnered into uh, revenue, or how do you skip that altogether and go straight to revenue? Maybe that's what you're more interested in.
Sure.
All right.
Most of the
And there's some
influencers,
key difference. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, most of the influencers choose to monetize themselves, right? Like they become the income, brand deals, right? Promoting things. Like that's what happens on the influencer side. They don't
Sure,
actually
sure, sure,
get to that place. It just
sure,
becomes
sure,
their
sure.
attention.
You're right. You're right. You and I both know, man, that's a small percentage,
That's right.
and
Yes.
that's even a smaller percentage that are able to do it at a level that will support the type of life that they want to live,
Right.
which is what we're all about over here. So I think one of the things to look at is something you talk about all the time, which is identify your unfair advantage, identify your expertise, identify your level, your skill,
Specialized
right?
knowledge.
Your specialized knowledge, if we want to throw that in there. And these day and age, I think it's utilizing that to build digital assets, whether it's courses, whether it's events, whether it's multiple different formats in which you can offer that. I think that's one of the hottest industries right now. And the better you are at the skill or the specialized knowledge, the better. But then you couple that with the skills necessarily to actually generate a sale online. And I think that's one of the hottest industries right now. And not hot in the sense of it's gimmicky, but hot in the sense of like there is really like a blueprint.
Sure. There's a blueprint that I'm sure plenty of people follow in the digital asset space, courses, ebooks, apps, but right, like that entire space. This business conversation is important because there's so many ways to do it, and I think that's what we like really what we talk a ton about on the show is that you just got to figure out kind of what your actual skills are and then figure out what the business model is. The key is getting on that BI side, getting to a place where you own some systems that run the business. And a lot of times we're thinking about this like we have to create it, but something you've brought up a bunch of times is that you can just buy a business. There's a lot of ways to just purchase something that's already been built. It's just either not been built fully, the person that built it is just tired of building it and running it, right? Or there's a deficit, right? Like it's not necessarily the greatest, and you can come in and you can revamp some things. But that is a way to get on the BI side, and I don't think we should neglect it as much, especially moving forward and where our landscape is, where our economy is. There's probably over the next 5 to 10 years, it'll never be a better time to like buy small businesses with the baby boomers and the generation, right? The generation that's now phasing themselves out of working, especially small business land. They don't, think of your average 61-year-old that's been running their business for 15 years, for 17 years. They're done. They don't want to do this anymore. And they just want to make sure that they can get themselves a nice little comfortable pension, something that pays them so they can sit back. They don't got to do payroll anymore. They don't got to do all the emergencies when things happen at the store. They don't got to make all these decisions. They just want to get out of it. Well, if you come in with a knowledge of that specific industry, so for all of you that are thinking about this buying a business thing, well, maybe you should have some specialized knowledge about a specific industry. Like, are you just great? I mean, in the labor field, are you great in the things with in the trades, electrician, plumbing, HVAC, those things? Like, do you just know that industry very well? So if you see a random plumbing business or random electrical business for sale, or the owner's getting too old, does it make sense for you to be able to step in there? So knowing an industry is part of specialized knowledge that could really benefit you if you're going to start to look at how to
Absolutely.
build some forms of wealth, right?
Yep. 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 Yep.
I
No,
think
you're
that's
spot on.
one of those areas that people should really pay attention to. And there's probably a couple other things that they should be thinking about just on that side of buying a business. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're buying an already operating business 5 years plus of papers to document, to show what's going on, or leveraging your specialized knowledge to to create digital assets. All right, I think those two routes right there are understated, and it's probably one of the best times to do so. And it does not mean that you have to be an influencer.
Mhm.
All right, it means that you just have to be able to put systems in place to do what it is that needs to be done. And if you don't want to be on the influence side of things, there's ways to not do that.
Yeah. Maybe, right? You've even said this. We said this off camera, especially on like a platform like an Instagram. You got to have a face behind your brand, though, right? It probably is going to be better in the long run for growth if there is a face to the brand. Would you not say?
I would say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay, fair enough, sir. Come in and call a brother out a little bit, but let's say this. Yes, in the long run, I personally believe it's better to have a face to a brand.
Mhm.
However, I also personally know individuals who've created brands that don't have their face to it and generates very good income on a monthly basis. So I have a friend who sells a supplement. Um, does maybe 30 to 40K a month, and just runs a lot of ads to Facebook.
Now with his
And
face, not being the
not with
face.
his face, no, not with his face. So I'm saying there's ways to do it, but what the things to take into consideration is how much capital do you have that you want to put into this? How much time do you have that you want to put into this? And do you have any other restrictions or unfair advantages to consider?
Hmm.
I think it's probably better to consider unfair advantages that you can leverage. All right. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I think ultimately, for what we're doing, I think it's better to have a face to the name, to the brand or to the name. But not necessarily. I highly doubt that he necessarily uh, that he's going to switch that up. I also know another friend of mine who does resale on vintage clothing.
Hmm.
Vintage clothing does very well. Um, you know, about 20K a month and profits, not in gross revenue.
Mhm.
So no face to it, just a vintage brand. Let's look at something like
Those
does
that's not necessarily a digital asset business, right?
correct.
Like that's
Agreed.
he's building something, right? He's building a business fully, but he's doing some work. He's probably got a team. He's got people, laborers, people doing some of the
Yeah, it's
putting.
about a team of four.
Yeah,
About a team of four.
yeah,
But flip that as well too, though. I do know of an individual young man with sells Facebook ads course.
sure,
No face to it. All
sure.
right. But that was the goal from the jump. And that's a pretty specialized skill,
Mhm,
I would say.
mhm.
All right. That's not the case for a lot of people that get started and are trying to get into this. They don't necessarily know, aren't experts at running Facebook ads, and they usually don't even really know what it is they want to even be doing anyway.
That's true.
So with that said, it's better than to gather an audience around something that jazzes you up
Mhm.
and then look to monetize that attention. All right.
Yeah,
So I think it's kind of which end of the donkey are you coming from?
absolutely, absolutely. I think they said that your Instagram's muffled. I hear it a little muffled on that side, but
Oh man, sorry.
it's all good.
Um,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
still a little muffled, but either way, again, given a little bit more of this business insight, I think there's so many ways to go. But the key, ladies and gentlemen, getting on that BI side, if you want to get to some forms of time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, personal freedom, you got to take ownership. That's the key. You got to take ownership. Ownership comes through owning all of the parts of your life, owning your income, owning your your actions, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, where you put your time and attention, being able to own all those parts of your life from a business standpoint, being able to even own a system that runs the business that you've either put in place or you've gotten from someone to be able to put in place, and that'll give you back some of those freedoms. So again, we're here to brainstorm it with you. We're here to talk it through. We invite people onto the show so that they can give you some insight. Coming up, right, we're going to start having more guests on here that are going to be giving more insight, more of the kind of niche type of information around certain topics. We're going to provide a lot of that coming up in 2024. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to next year, right? By the time some of you are watching this live, but the ones of you that aren't watching this live, it's probably the early part of December, right? So, we're coming up on the new year. We're coming up on the new year, and we're going to give you a lot more solid content that's going to be able to feed all of these things around health, around wealth, and specifically now around business, as we can help you transition a bit more, because we know a lot of you want to transition. 2024 might be your year to transition out of the job, to pick up that business that now creates some forms of passive income. It might be very active income at the beginning, but it's put you on a path for some form of passive income. Maybe you just need to get connected with the right people. Bro, I think that's something we got to start also talking about, right? It's like, how do we connect all the people in our networks and, right, give people opportunities to be able to grow together? Because again, a lot of times there's a great entrepreneur that's got a great idea and they just need a technician, or there's a great technician that's doing something really well that just needs some ideas of how to build it out in the digital space. And so being able to connect people together and make sure that people have the resources they need to come together and build, because it takes a team to build something, right? There's that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with a team. So it takes a team if you want to go far and build something big that's going to impact the world. So we got to help you guys get around the right people. Get around the right
I
people.
love it. I love it. And that's the intention. Um, as we go, we're gonna leave you all with the last take. What's your last take from, brother?
The Good Life Visual Audio Podcast is something you should be listening to every week. We got a lot of episodes back, so probably take some time and go back and listen to it. But y'all, the Good Life health, wealth, love, happiness. Really being we condensed it down to health and wealth, your well-being from a health side, your well-being from a financial side. I implore you, my take for today, because this was just right an overview type of conversation on the show. But my last take is I implore you to get serious in these two areas. Get serious around your health, get serious around your financial life. Really make strides to be able to progress in those areas, get around community, get the knowledge, get the information you need, and really get serious about taking your life to the next level. That's my last take.
I love it. Great last take, brother. And I'll go ahead and add to that and say, we appreciate you for joining us. And if you don't do anything else, do these 3 things. Go ahead and subscribe to wherever you're watching. Send this to somebody and then leave us a comment letting us know that you heard the episode and what you want to see more of. My take, guys, is that these 2 things, we don't have to go and get really, 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 really busy or work really, 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 really hard. Pareto's principle actually applies in both of these areas as well. And we can actually focus on 20% of the habits that we should be taking on in these 2 areas that will lead to 80% of the results. And for a lot of people, 80% is a whole lot more than where we are right now. So we'll see you next week. Appreciate your time this time. And until next time, peace, peace, and peace to all 3 screens.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Good Life.
If you enjoy this episode, please take a moment to subscribe and like our channel.
If you have any feedback or suggestions for future episodes, please leave us a comment down below.
If you're listening to the podcast audio version, we appreciate you just as much. Thank you for tuning into the Good Life Show.
We believe that everyone has the potential to live their best life, and we hope our show helps you get that one step closer to achieving your goal.
If you know someone who would benefit from our show, please share it with them, and thank you for your continued support.
That's it for another week's episode here on The Good Life. We'll see you next week for another inspiring conversation.